Hello?
Hello, Mr. Warner.
Hello?
A pleasant good afternoon to you. This is WZYU 95.9 FM. This is Ansem, Diana, and Tommy. How are you doing, sir?
Good evening, Mr. Warner.
I'm doing pretty okay.
Mr. Warner.
Good evening, good evening.
Good evening. Yeah, we want to. You can say special hello to all the listeners in the diaspora here in New York, New Jersey, Connecticut,
Well,
Long Island, and environs.
special, special welcome to all of them. I'm happy to know they are on and listening. It's good to make connection with the diaspora from time to time.
Correct is right. So, Mr. Warner, how is the battleground feel? How are things going so far with this local government election?
I am very, very, very pleased with the things are going. I think that the UNC and the end have the edge. I am quite sure if we continue as we are in that moment on Monday.
So, Mr. Warner, what motivated you to re-enter the political arena after such a long absence?
It was purely because of love for country. And I swear to you on this, I couldn't see the country fall to pieces, to see the middle class decimated, to see crime spiraling out of control, to see unemployment at an all-time high, to see young people leaving the country in droves. I just couldn't sit by and see these things taking place and nothing. I felt therefore that I had to make one last intervention and to if that's fine. If not, then they pay the price for the neglect.
Was this decision a decision that took some time, or was it just that you woke up one day and decided, you know what, I need to do something?
Sure. No, it took some time. I had to think about my family, about my own future. I think about several things, my businesses and so on, and therefore I had to make a very conscious decision that I shall overlook all and still into the battleground, so to speak, to try to save the country. It is purely part of saving this country. This country cannot be destroyed by one man and his dog. It just can't be destroyed. It can be destroyed.
So are you saying, Mr. Warner, you believe the country is being destroyed by Prime Minister Dr. Keith Christopher Rowley?
That absolutely, totally, 100% yes. And if you walk the streets of this country, as I have walked, and I have walked up to today, that is the only cry, that's the major cry, that Keith Rowley has to demit office, has to go. The experience we have had of the first Prime Minister, but this second has made that one look like an angel, what is happening here today.
But Mr. Warner, this is a local government election as opposed to a general election. Is this the before the general election? This is like the setup or the trial run before
Yes.
the general election?
You're totally correct. This is a dress rehearsal, so to speak. And once this is achieved on Monday, where Trinidad has said, like, it means that
You lost him.
So, folks, that's just the internet giving problems. Yeah. Yeah, you went out there, Mr. Warner.
I said it, dress rehearsal for 2025. And at the end of the day, Dr. Rowley will lose Trinidad. He already lost Tobago. And this would be a clear message to him that his services are no longer required.
Now, Mr. Warner, plenty of people may ask this question. Why did you choose to join the UNC given the past tensions between yourself and Mrs. Kamala Persad-Dessessa?
Well, it's simple. You had two choices. Either you go with Rowley and the PNM, for which I have never been a member, never been associated, or you make amends with Mrs. Persad-Dessessa, since she was amenable to such as well, and try to fight using her support as a base. It was a very difficult. It was not a very difficult decision. It was very, very simple indeed.
And what about that the video that's circulating when you did an interview with Rennie Bishop, and the statement, I'm paraphrasing here with respect to, we cannot impose on this country anymore one of the most corrupt government this country has ever seen. What do you say to those now who want to sort of highlight that an issue like that?
At the time, at the time that might have been relevant. But let me tell you this, my friend. The most corrupt government this country has ever seen is the one we are seeing now. And that has not been a very difficult decision for me to make, because the only difference is that this government is more subtle in so many ways, but they are as corrupt, and in fact they're 10 times the UNC had ever been.
Now let's look at the upcoming local government election on August the 14th, right? Now, what should a tie continue beyond Monday's local government election? What strategy you have in mind in order to reshape the UNC's prevailing culture in the midst of its fragmentation? Let's say we have a tie.
Well, that is a question that I do think I should venture to answer, because the fact is, I am not looking for a tie. I'm not expecting a tie. If a tie does come, then we shall put our heads together. Mrs. Prasad, Mrs. the team, I, all of us, and deal with it. But at this point in time, that question does not arise, my friend. Does not arise.
Now, Mr. Warner, we know that one of the issues facing you currently is with respect to extradition, right? Some people,
I began by saying I'm not dealing on any question on extradition or football.
Okay,
and I'm saying so simply because that matter is still in the courts. I want to say nothing that would affect that.
No problem. Because I was gonna ask, because we say here at WZYE, the reason why you are in the predicament that you are in now is because the United States didn't get that World Cup, back then, and we know that Qatar had.
That is.
Go ahead.
That is so simple and that is so straightforward that I think that there can be no doubt or there can be no dispute in what you are saying. That is a fact, and it's a given. And when the time comes, if it does come at all, I will deal with that appropriately.
Now, what do you think about the recent rise in crime and violence in Trinidad and Tobago?
Simply put, the government doesn't have a clue. They have an idiot as a Minister of National Security, a man who has never succeeded in anything, in any ministry, anywhere. And they have put him there because he's Dr. Rowley's good friend, and Dr. Rowley doesn't give a damn what happens in this country. And therefore, because the government is so incompetent and so unable to deal with the crime, the criminals are having a field day, so to speak, and the citizens are sitting ducks, are victims to the criminals. That is why Mrs. Posabi says statement of stand your ground, and of course also light them up. Those two statements are so relevant at this point in time because they're the only things that citizens can sit and hope to, because even the police can't handle the crime anymore, and therefore because of that, we have decided that we have to take a different strategy to deal with the criminals.
But Mr. Warner, I myself, right, we live here in the United States of America, and we deal with stand your ground laws very much here in the United States of America. There's also called the Casa Doctrine, where you defend your casa by any means necessary. And I personally have said, in Trinidad and Tobago, the Casa Doctrine will be a better law for Trinidad and Tobago rather than stand your ground because of what happened in this country with respect to stand your ground laws. And to be honest with you, in this country, black people suffer more from stand your ground laws, in this country more than anything else. And that kind of was difficult for me to take as living in this country because I have a son, I have a daughter, and there's a possibility they could go out and somebody could say, they feel like they're threatened and they could take their lives. What do you say?
I have not studied it in the full detail, but I am looking at it as one of the things that we can consider. There may be other options, but the fact is that stand your ground policy that has been advanced by the political leader, Mrs. Posabi Sessa, that policy is not cast in stone, and therefore when the time comes and we begin to discuss issues related to stand your ground, we may come up with something that is acceptable to all to all in Trinidad and Tobago. But the fact is, there must be something. Something has to be done, my friend, to stem the wave of crime that is overtaking this country. We just can't sit down and throw our hands up in the air like sitting ducks and say, God help us. God only helps those who help themselves, and we have to now intervene and help ourselves. So I'm
Mr.
saying
Warner,
castle doctrine may very be considered, but at this point in time, that has been advanced by Mrs. Prasad Bissessa, and I repeat, maybe other nations that begin
Mr. Warner.
to look for that.
Where, Tommy?
Hey, Mr. Warner. Good evening again. We see in Tobago,
Yeah, good evening.
yes, we see that what has happened in Tobago is since that whitewash from the PDP slash TPP now, that they're being victimized, or should I say, persecuted by the central government
And
because
demonized.
and demonized by central government for the trashing they gave to the quote unquote central government red party. If that happens in the local government election, do you think that there will be a backlash for the UNC?
Oh, sure, there will be. And of course, a backlash is expected. But I think the country is wise enough and so politically advanced. They too are prepared for it. And when the time comes, we shall use it against the very government that is, of course, trying to impose it upon us. We have sat down and we have discussed strategies that to do and to deal with those situations. And believe me, we are not sleeping at this point in time.
Mr.
No.
Warner, Ms. Benskin, we saw recently the visit
Uh,
by the Ashanti King. Mr. Warner, do you think that visit was timely, benefited the poor, suffering citizens of Trinidad and Tobago, either psychologically, financially, morally, any kind of lead?
that visit was done to try to lift the sinking image of the Prime Minister and the PNM. It had nothing to do with upliftment of the African. It had nothing to do with emancipation. The guy has not made a single statement that is edifying and uplifting. It was merely a showpiece to, I say, to lift the riding stock of the Prime Minister, and it failed. It failed miserably. As such, therefore, I think that initiative did not work, and who knows, they may even try others as a consequence.
So you saying, what do you say, Mr. Warner, is that the visit was actually a waste of time?
Waste of time and money. A waste of time and money. And any African who is objective in his or her view will agree with what I'm saying. Was a waste of time and money.
Mr. Warner, I got to be honest with you. I have been saying that because I would like to know what improvements are black people, especially black, and this is me here, especially those people of the black people of the PNM who continue to support the PNM. Because, Mr. Warner, I'm from Chumaka, Claventel. I grew up in Chumaka, Claventel. You see? And I asked myself, what are the benefits from the Ashanti King coming to Trinidad? How is it going to benefit them when he leaves? And so far, no one have been able to answer that question. Maybe you could give me an answer.
The whole thing is that, and I say this unashamedly, that the Africans are always better treated under an Indian government. The Africans are the worst people treated under the PNM. And yet, as sycophants, they go and support the PM. And if you look and see, you'll see that, of course, the Africans are the ones that are worst treated. In fact, I tell you this, look at Pinal and its development. Look at Debe. Look at Shogunas. Look at Siparia. Ask yourself how these places have developed the way they have, and look at Arima. Look at Sawa. Look at Laventil. What is being done by the same black government to uplift these areas? Nothing is being done. And come independence, they put on a dashiki, they walk the street and they shout some songs and so on. They march to Savannah to an African village, and that's emancipation. Give me that. Don't give me that foolishness, man. That can't be. The same way they have, of course, Borode, and Borode is mud mass and violence. That's Borode. Nothing uplifting, nothing edifying, no message, of course, given to the black man to how to uplift himself or herself. So I have become, in other words, I have deliberately excluded myself from those um
Events.
Celebrations, those
yes,
celebrations.
celebrations. I'm just getting a bit angry by your friend. I am tired with the pretense that takes place here. The pretense, right?
Mr. Warner, and the thing about it is that the Prime Minister have said that he think he's the blackest man in Trinidad and Tobago. And I would think that if you think you're the blackest man in Trinidad and Tobago, you should help some of the blackest people who are the bottom of the ladder. As a matter of fact, Mr. Warner, we just look at the statistics here. It shows us that 26% of black people in Trinidad and Tobago are living below the poverty line. And that's the highest number of
That's a
any
fact.
race in Trinidad and Tobago.
That's a fact. And yet for that, the same Prime Minister who says that his goal is to make the rich richer, because you make the rich richer, you help the poor. I've never seen such an idiotic statement in my life. Right? I've never seen it in my life.
And Mr. Warner, you have
That's his
traveled the
goal.
world. You have traveled the world. You have gone all different parts
That's
of
an
the world.
understatement. That's an understatement. And I say so unashamedly.
No, Mr. Warner, no. What do you think are some of the challenges or risks that you anticipate or foresee for the coalition with the NTA, UNC, and Kamala Persad-Bissessar in the future?
No, there are some things that we have to sit down and discuss. I don't think that it will be, of course, something that we can patch over. We have to avoid the errors that were made in the People's Partnership. I think that we have learned a lot from the experiences we have had with the partnership. And I see at the end of the day, give and take on both sides, I see a smooth sailing. Because at the end of the day, we have to remove the pain the people are suffering in this country. And to remove the pain the people are suffering, you have to remove the evil. The evil is Rory and the PNM. And therefore, we have to put our heads together and, based on our collective efforts, try to correct the situation.
No, Mr. Warner.
No, I have to run after this one.
Okay. So some people may ask.
I'll always get me back sometime.
Yeah. No, we like to have you back before the 11th. Give us like about 10, 15 minutes. We already have you for something.
No problem.
But let me say, some people ask, right? Are you capable of bringing the UNC together despite having a defiant leader?
I think that the situation is such that we all realize that we have no alternative. The alternative to that is that this country will die. And therefore, since you don't want the country to die, you have to come together and have some kind of some deliberation that would result in some understanding on both sides. Because I say again, the alternative to that is death. No, this country must not die.
Now, Mr. Warner, question before you go, right? Since we're talking, I said something about black. So some people ask this question. Mr. Warner, what did you do to uplift black people? I'm not talking about football.
I have. If you ever have a chance to walk through this country, they will tell you, one, that I was the most hardworking minister this country has ever seen. Two, they'll tell you that I am the only minister who took $1 a month salary and gave a salary to the poor to help them. Three, they'll tell you that I am the only minister that gave 20 scholarships to the University of the West Indies from my own pocket. Or they will tell you at the end of the day, I have an open door policy from 4 a.m. right back to midnight, and that is known island-wide. And the list goes on. And I try to uplift back. If I forget, I also took 2 girls from Bangladesh and sent them to Barbados to get law degrees. One succeeded, one did not. But that's life. At the end of the day, I believe in my own little way. I have tried. I have tried by example. I have tried by showing what hard work can achieve. I have tried by talking from time to time. And football is just one vehicle, but that is not the be all and end all. I have done many things, and I'm still doing things to uplift black people. It's difficult to do that because in the prevailing circumstance, too many of them believe that carnival is the be all and end all of life. too many of them believe that running down in a fet till 2 or 3 in the morning and diving in water and in mud and so on, that is what, of course, life is about. And therefore, the
Mhm.
culture is hard to change in some of them. But I am hopeful. I must confess, I'm hopeful. I haven't given up.
And last, before you go, what about your take on Julia Davy? I've heard her on the radio, saying some things about you that and she called my name because I said that you have accomplished quite a bit, and she did an article, and I know she called your name and she put me in the article. So I was honored to know I was in an article with Jack Austin Warner.
Boy, I don't think neither you nor I should dignify anything that Davy says. Honestly, I don't think that is worth it. And I don't want to state now because whatever Davy says, I really don't want to dignify. It's not worth it.
Okay.
I I have my life has been this. If I can bring up people to my level, I am not going down to theirs, and therefore I'm not going down to Davy level.
There we go. We're gonna leave you
Mm.
on that.